Hi all, I'm Kavita Kannan. I'm here to speak about communication skills, the forthcoming paper for you, giving you a little tips on how to prepare yourself effectively to give this exam and gain maximum marks from this paper. As you know, the main topics for you in communication skills is objectives, methods, barriers, business correspondence, technical writing, and there will be a comprehension passage. I have tried to summarize a few major points that you will be reading and preparing yourself before the examination. So when you come to the chapter of objectives, see to it that you thoroughly explain the process of communication, like what it is from the sender gives an idea and sends the message to the receiver, who understands and decodes it, personalizes it, and gives a feedback back to the sender. This way, communication becomes a circular process. So any question which is relating to the definition of communication or gives a statement about communication, that it is a social activity, it is a two-way process, a circulatory process, or any statement saying that communication is a one-way, any myth of communication that you come across, you have to explain the process of communication, explain why communication is necessary and how effectively you communicate, and then give an explanation to the statement that comes in question. Like if it is saying communication is a two-way process, you're going to say that yes, it is a two-way process between the sender and the receiver. If you say it's a circulatory process, then you say yes, because of this diagram explained above, it is a circulatory process. So see to it that you end that question by saying what the statement is in question. Please make it a point without fail to draw this diagram for any communication statement definition question. Then we see the major part, the next question that you might get, 2 or 3 questions from the chapter on methods of communication. When you say methods of communication, we speak about verbal and non-verbal, that is writing, and non-verbal is your hand gestures, the body language, how you communicate with your eyes, with your ears, with your legs, with your hands. Everything is what comes in non-verbal communication. Formal communication is again a part of verbal communication. It can be in writing or it can be even by speaking. Informal communication is something which happens in peers, in friends, between your classmates. So that is informal, where there is no necessity that you have to be careful about the words being used. The grammatically you need not be sound. Like in short, informal communication is something like what you do in your WhatsApp. Formal communication is the communication where you receive a letter from the school, from the college, from a company. Those are formal communications. So there can be question directly asking you a difference between them or explaining them, or there can be a question asking you what are the different types of verbal communication. Giving in depth each communication can be, the type can be asked as a question. Like when you say in verbal, you're talking about how messages are passed in verbal communication. There is a letter, how will it be written? There's a listening. Listening is a part of communication. Then in that case, there can be a question about active listening, how it affects communication. So in that you have to explain then what is verbal communication, come to the point of listening skills, and then explain the answer about listening skills. When you say like active skills, active listening, when you say active listening, you can speak about how active listening is helpful. Clarification, gives clarification. How silence in it also matters when you say. When you're listening, active listening also involves just being silent and responding at the proper time. So these kind of questions asking you about what is active skills, listening skills, how it is effective, or how it helps, how it hinders Any type of question that comes on it, you will have to speak a little about the verbal communication, non-verbal communication, and then come to the specific question that is asked, so that you are that fetches you the maximum marks. The other topics that you might remember when you're studying about methods of communication is the 7 C's, the 4 S, the power, and SQ3R. When you say power, we speak that it is plan, organize, write, edit, and revise. This helps you even in writing your paper now. When you write your paper, please see to that you use this power while writing it. That is, read the question, understand what is to be answered, then organize your thoughts accordingly, write it, read it again, see that whether you missed anything or you want to add something, you have to delete something, please do that, revise that answer, and then proceed to the next question. 7 C's. 7 C's are very important because in 7 C's, there can be an individual question on each, or there can be a question culminating all the 7 C's. Like that, generally, if you've seen the old question paper, you'll find there has always been a question on courtesy, on consistency, or on clarity, on credibility. So please make it a point that you go through all these 7 C's, 4 S, SQ3R, which says survey, question, read, recite, and write, and review. So these points, please make it a point, make it a point that you read the whole chapter properly, so that it not only helps in a direct question, it can also help you overall in answering the paper. Because these are the writing techniques. They are the writing techniques and the which will help you, which is going to fetch you more marks. Then there will be a question frequency is on the channels of communication. You would have seen that there has been a question on grapevine. There's a direct question or a statement-oriented question about grapevine. What is grapevine? When there's a question on grapevine, please see to it that you say that what is it? It's a rumor mill. It can be a rumor mill. Tell that it is oral. It is undocumented. It can be quick and inaccurate. You have to emphasize on these major characteristics of grapevine. Be the question on advantage, disadvantage, or how grapevine can be made effective tool for the management. Any type of questions on grapevine, make it clear that you write about grapevine, you write the characteristics, then you explain advantage and disadvantage in one or two sentences. And then finally write how effectively the management can use it. Like say about it, when you say grapevine, say that grapevine can become a two-way process where it can open up the management to the discussion level with its subordinates, where they can give them their feedback, they can give their inputs, and this can help them in the decision making. So this is what you will have to answer when you're talking about grapevine. Then I shift to the next, is about barriers. This again, you can shortly see that you will get at least 2 questions on this chapter, where it might have to, there might be a question directly saying, please explain all the barriers of the communication, or there might be a question saying, what are the organizational barriers, what are the semantic barriers. So when such question comes, make it a point that you answer first, what are the different barriers of the communication, then you speak about the specific question asked. Whether if it is it's asked about semantic, then say that language can be the barrier, and how you will overcome that. That is going to be the answer for it. If there is a question on saying that please explain the barriers of the communication, then you have to say about personal, physical, semantic, social, psychological, and organizational, and in short explain in a line or two about each and every barrier that you're talking about, then a small conclusion on how you can overcome these barriers. That will summarize your question, what are the barriers of communication. Don't leave the question without writing a line about how you can overcome the barrier. You you are expected when the question is saying, oh, the question is only what are the barriers, I have to only explain what these are the 5 barriers. No, you are it gives an idea to the person who's checking a paper that you know what are the barriers and how it overcomes. That will really make the person say that you are clear with your concepts about this paper. Next, when we say overcoming the barriers, please highlight the points. These are some points that I've highlighted, saying you have to have good listening skills, you should know the right medium of communication that you should be using, where to use it and when to use it. Then empathy. When I talk about empathy, I'm going to say how you overcome a barrier is knowing your listener, trying to understand from the listener's point of view. That's when the communication to the listener is effectively passed on. And synergetic environment. Synergetic environment, as I was just saying right now, when you say the gray point, when you talk about the gray point, can become an effective tool also in the communication process within the management, within an organization. That's the same thing which I meant, this also meant by saying synergetic environment, where the barriers can be crossed if everybody working over there are given a healthy environment. They are also made to feel that they are important. This goes on the barriers. The next topic that comes is business correspondence. Again, you can expect a question directly asking you to explain what are the parts of a business letter, or what are the different formats of a business letter, what are the types of business, or there can be a question where you are asked to write a letter in that format. You may be asked to write a letter in the full block or a modified block format. There may be a letter given in a format and you will be told to change the format and present it again. Then there might be a question saying write a complaint letter, write an adjustment letter. So when you write these questions, you have to know that these parts of the business letter is covered properly in your answer. That is, be careful that being an official letter, business letter, there has to be a letterhead shown over there. There has to be a date, address, there will be a subject, salutation, in the sense like if you are sure there is a name written, then see to it that it's Mr. or Miss. If you don't know, then give the salutation as dear sir, stroke madam. Then when you write in the body of the letter, see to it that you cover all the points that are required to be answered in that question. Like if you're asked about saying a recovery letter, you are demanding something. You are demanding an amount from the person. So from the other party. At that time you should be able to write what was the transaction that had taken place. How there has been a delay, or how much of loss are you getting because of the delay in payment. You should cover those points properly in the body of the letter. Then you have to close the letter with a complimentary closure, that is, give an best regards, right, or say thank you. Nowadays you won't write thanks and regards, you just give it as best regards. Then close it, and if you have mentioned about any enclosure in your body of the letter, see to it that you put up in the end of the letter that you are enclosing it. What are the enclosures you have talked about? They are being enclosed in this letter. Then if you are marking this letter, like normally in business letters it is seen that there may be a letter which will go to two parties. Sometimes you mention both the parties at the starting of the letter, or at times it is that you address it only one person and your copy is marked to another person. So then after you finish a signature, you have to see to it that you write a CC and mark to the other party and with the address. Then comes is a postscript. There can be a postscript, and you would have forgotten to write something in the letter, and then you feel, oh, I forgot this point. I should be covering this point in this letter. This was not written in the. So at that point of time, you need not cut through inside the body of the letter. You can put it as PS and write it there so that you have completed the letter without making any omissions inside the letter. So that's what you have to know when you're writing a business letter. You should know the types of the letter you have. Please go through all the different types of letters that are given in your any textbook that you're referring to. Go through it. See to it that when you're writing your answer, you use all the parts of the letter properly and you're using the proper format you're asked for. Like if you're asked a full block, you have to write it in a full block. If you're writing in a modified block for a full block question, you, in spite of having all that written properly, you may not gain marks because the fundamental question has been write it in full block and you have written it in the modified block. So the fundamental score for that paper, for that question is gone. Maybe if the checker person who is examining your paper is lenient enough, he might give you some grace marks for that question because you have attempted it in a proper, irrespective of writing in a wrong format, you have attempted it. You have written some substance. So for that he might, if it's a 4 mark, he might probably give you 1 or 2 marks. But it depends upon him, not upon us. Then is another question that you can expect is on technical writing, where you say there will be 3 different major types of questions that will come, where you might be asked to define an object. Define an object, you might be asked to give instructions about an object, you will be asked to explain the process or describe the process. So, while you are writing a question on defining an object, see to it that there are 3-4 points that you have to cover. You have to define the object properly, where you say what is the definition. Then you will have to draw a diagram. For defining an object question, a diagram is compulsory. Please don't miss doing that. Then write a small write-up on the functions about that product, about that object. Then conclude it by saying overall what is the usage of that product. Like if you are asked a question about describe say a fan, then you should be able to draw a fan. You should be able to write how the fan can be used. And lastly, if it's a ceiling fan, say that yes, it is a ceiling fan. That is the conclusion that you can give it. The same way that another question that you can expect is on giving instructions. For giving an instruction, again you have 4 parts to be covered: introduction, materials required, instructions, and precautions to be taken about. Only when you write all this 4 points, covering these 4 points, you can expect good marks. If you are missing out 1 or 2 from this, you can safely say that you have missed marks also. The same way. Description of a process. Again, that also has 4 parts to be written. You will have to introduce the product in it or a process in it. Then you have to say what are the materials you are using in it, the tools or the apparatus that goes in it. Then you have to describe the process about it, and lastly, again, as I said, conclusion. Like if it's a process, you are concluding by saying what the process is and where it is used. That will be your answer for describing the process. So while writing these 3 questions on these 3 topics, you should be careful that you know to use the proper words. Like you should know whether you are describing a machine, you are using an instrument, tool or an apparatus, appliance, or is it a gadget, or is there an equipment involved, or is it just a device. So please go through all these definitions properly so that you don't miss marks because you have not used the proper keyword. There may not be a big major difference between a tool and an apparatus. So you should know where to use. It might be very confusing. So you should know whether this object that you are writing is a tool or it is an apparatus. Please follow the major keywords carefully while writing the paper. And again, in this chapter, you would have come across two things which is very commonly asked. Explain the difference between caution and warning. So there are these 4 points where it's precaution, caution, warning and danger, which are majorly asked in the question paper. So you should know there can be a question saying a statement is given to you and you have to identify whether it is a warning or a precaution or a danger, what kind of statement it is. So you should know that precaution means it's just saying strictly how to use the product or how to use the process. Caution would say that you have to use the product under certain specified conditions. Then comes warning. When you say warning, it's an alert, it's a yellow signal kind. Like if you don't use it properly, it cannot be used. What will happen if it is incorrectly, if it's as an incorrect use of the product, what will be the consequence? That is what you're saying in a warning. And in danger, you're saying that there can be great harm if it is not used properly. So here you should know in this every statement that you use, whether it's a precaution, caution, warning or danger. So this is the major topics that will be covered from this chapter and can come in majorly as statement, explain whether it is a caution, whether it's a precaution, or define a process or an object, or write an instruction about an object. That goes with technical writing. Then you have again a major easy question that you can score marks would be comprehension. About there will be a technical passage or about an industry related passage where your vocabulary is actually checked. We have seen these comprehension questions right from our school time in English. So that's the same thing. Only thing is that this is going to be more technical passage relating to your subjects. Here you have to exhibit a good vocabulary. So strengthen your words, strengthen your grammar before going for your exams. Be careful about the common errors that you do during writing your exams. Be careful that you don't you are careful with your spellings. You don't use repetitive words in your paper in the answering the same question or answering the same question. Be careful that you use proper words. Your choice of words should be proper. Write properly, write big enough that the person who's examining your paper is ready to see the paper and give you marks. If your font size, your handwriting is very small, that also affects your marks. And these are common errors.